Happy Saturday night, everyone. It's kind of an unhappy Saturday night in a lot of ways. If you just finished the pay-per-view like we did, lots of highs and lows, and we're just here to process all the trauma with you. This is Kevin with my good friend Jeremy Finestone.
Hello.
And tonight was WrestleDream, which turned into a Wrestle Nightmare, I think,
and
for many
our
people.
And tones are going to lull you back to sleep with all your dreams and nightmares.
The good people of Tacoma were lived a nightmare. So we just may have seen Bryan Danielson's last match for a good long time. Maybe theoretically, probably never. Not never, but supposedly, we have now witnessed the end of Bryan Danielson's full-time career. And Jon Moxley has now set a record as a four-time AEW champion, has held the IWGP and AEW World Championship in the same year, making that case for the Hall of Fame. And what are your thoughts? How are you feeling?
Kevin, I wanna ask you one question, hot off the bat.
Okay.
Completely out of left field.
We've done no prep for this. We have no idea what each other thought of this show yet.
Maybe 3 hours ago in a Discord about MJF and Cole, and then we just kind of went our own separate ways.
Right. Yep.
Did they kill Washington as a town with that end?
Okay. Potentially. I think maybe, yeah. Now, I was thinking a lot about this because our friend and cohort, Paul Fontaine, is still actively watching the show. He's probably about at least an hour behind. I think he's watching the Young Bucks right now.
Okay.
There's a train about to hit him, and he doesn't know it. I think he actually did get spoiled, but I don't know if he knows the full extent of what happened. And several months ago, they were in Winnipeg for Dynamite, if you recall, and Paul was at that show. And that show had a major heat angle, where Jack Perry and the Young Bucks attacked a healing post-surgery Kenny Omega in his hometown and had him stretchered out.
Mm-hmm.
And there was much discussion over whether that was a good angle that built heat for the company and the heels, or whether it was just killing a town. And I thought a lot about that conversation tonight. And I don't know. I think there's a way. You
thought about this independent of me before.
Yes. I was thinking of it as I was watching them do the post-match. If I were a fan, here's what I think.
And if I was from Washington and I was just a fan, I wasn't in, I didn't have all the resources that I potentially have, and I saw that, I would think, well, what the fuck?
Especially if you were a longtime Bryan Danielson fan, as it appeared many of those people were. There were people in Bryan Danielson jackets, shirts. They loved him there. It was clearly I don't know what most of them expected. I don't know if they expected him to win or if they expected him. I think a lot of people expected him to lose, probably. Significant amount of people anyway. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of those people expected, he'll lose, and then they'll go off the air, and then we'll get a lovely goodbye speech or something like that. It'll be a thank you, Bryan ending, which they kind of made happen. But I think there's a way. I think if they just move on, who knows when and if Bryan will be back.
Right.
I have a theory.
Surgery. There's going to be a period of time, depending on how well the magic of surgery is nowadays.
I have a theory that they're not planning to go back to Washington anytime soon. And they will not go back to Washington until, either Darby is going for the world title, which I think will happen sooner than later, so I don't think that's the candidate, or they have a timetable of a year from now, potentially Bryan coming back. Mm. Now, we don't know the details of his surgery, if he's really having it, what it is, how bad it is. I love Bryan Danielson, but I don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth about anything when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I have to believe that in their mind, they are planning to make it up to that crowd in some way. Now the question is whether people will be enthusiastic or if they just felt like that crowd felt let down. Like that crowd
Dead
when
at the end. Like
yeah.
this. Not only did we see our guy go, we then saw Darby get like manhandled into the corner,
right.
and then there was no Swerve.
No Swerve. Right.
And there was a trifecta of guys that in their little corner of wrestling, like those are their guys.
Yeah.
And you had an absentee representative, and then you had the other two just get like destroyed. And I've got it on relatively good authority that match went exactly the way Bryan Danielson wanted it to go.
Oh, I
like
no doubt.
No
doubt about
wanted to
that.
get choked out. You wanted the guy to.
Why would he waste a semi-retirement on anything not, less dramatic? Like I think in his mind it's exactly what he would want to do. So I have zero doubt about that. So, but also, I don't know. In from a storyline sense, you take it out of Seattle or the Seattle area anyway, Tacoma. Yeah. As a story point in the big picture of AEW, I got zero problems with it.
No.
As
it's a risk,
It's a risk. It's a calculated risk. I think they pulled it off pretty well. Other than the Yuta turn seemed pretty telegraphed, a little overly telegraphed.
I think we all kind of knew that after, like, I'm going to go to the Dynamite show on Wednesday, and I'm fully expecting Yuta to say, I was counting on that guy last week to be there for me in that tag match, and I saw this other team, and they were there for each other, and I realized I needed to be with a group that was going to be with me, or some kind of thing like that.
Right. Yeah, and that part of it, I was fine. Other than it didn't feel like a big shock. You could hear the crowd, so I'm speaking from the assumption that everyone's watching us right now. Just watch the show, so I'm not going to fill in too many details. But when Wheeler Yuta decided to side with the former Blackpool Combat Club, they made a point that he was the only one wearing Blackpool Combat gear, and they took it off of him when he made the turn. But they also made a point that they recreated the bag over the head spot, and Mox handed him the bag as like a final like blood in ritual to prove it. That's not enough for you to side with us and take out Darby Allin, who you don't really care about, but we need you to kill your hero to prove your value, and he did. So they definitely have a new top heel group. I don't know where it's going. I'm skeptical of this higher power talk that people have been having, but what are your thoughts on that currently?
I'm fine with everything that is happening in AEW right now. I'm fine with the stable of Blackpool and the way that they're doing it right now. I can tell that AEW on their weekly programming is in a state of flux and making a bunch of resets all at once, and it's a jarring experience. Like we saw Brody King get mentioned representing the House of Black tonight, but at no point in the build of this did he ever seem like he was actually part of the House of Black, and they were just referring on unspoken history between Darby and Brody when they're doing that. And then you got the Chris Statlander pivot that they finally explained on Rampage last night, but it's all just been jarring.
Yeah.
And I'm expecting more of that to happen. So I'm fine because I know that we're heading in a better direction. Like creatively, there are people that have left the company, Jimmy Jacobs and others that are reshifting what the creative aspect of AEW is. And now that they've got the Bryan Danielson story out of the way, which is something that frankly people wanted to see, and we weren't going to get able to get past it and move forward until we did this one story. And now it's done and we can move on. There are plenty of people that can be the world title picture right now. We got Moxley, you got Christian with that belt, Darby is in the picture. Jay White has announced he wants the world title. There's fresh matchups and there's a new landscape, and we don't have to worry about the guy with the title having to drop it due to injury because of the style match. It's done. We got the story. It was bittersweet when it ended, but that's what every wrestling story is. You get what you want, but you have to pay for it a little bit too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would, if I'm taking this with a grain of salt, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like it was not I would have loved to have seen, Darby, be the guy to beat him or, like do that kind of, but we don't always get to pick our endings,
Mm-hmm. Only one person can be world champion.
Right. Right. And right now it seems like it needs to be Jon Moxley, which I'm always fine with. Sure. Like AEW world champion Jon Moxley, I rarely have an issue with because he always kills it. And so it'll be interesting to see, like you said, this was a little bit of a clearing the board show. They've reset the table in a lot of ways, right? So like Will Ospreay's out of the international title picture, or not necessarily the picture, but he's not holding the belt. So it's
we've never gotten Moxley versus Ospreay in AEW. It happened 2 years ago in New Japan, in a random show in the US.
Yeah,
so that's a match you can do.
And Swerve and Hangman are pretty officially like done for now. In the press conference, Swerve, that's over already, by the way. In the press conference, Swerve was asked if it was done, and he said it's done. He basically like ceded the feud to him. Like he said, like he took that and I give it to him, like let him have it.
Good, fam.
Yeah, he basically was like, we're good. I'm ready to move on. But he kind of left, a little door open by saying like, there's a piece of this that's always going to be there unresolved. But
there will be a reason for us to come back to it. But right now we're not coming back.
No, and they shouldn't. Right now it's like let it lie. You've left it in a good place to come back for it like a year or two later, and all that. So anyway, they both have back on their own directions. Hangman seems to be receding a little bit, which is a shame considering he just won a big program and probably should be the number one contender. Although, not to skip around too much, I mean, really, the number one contender to the world championship should be undefeated 15-0 Hologram.
1000%. Although technically he's got one pinfall to his name, so there's your loophole.
He's got what? One pinfall.
One pinfall.
Oh,
he took one pinfall through. I actually thought he might actually take a count out loss instead because they didn't want him to take a pinfall in any way.
Right. So that one loss to Mortis is eliminating him, but. You want to finish talking about the main event and then go back and recap, or like what did you think of the match?
I thought the match was actually really good. I thought it was in a stream of excellent Bryan Danielson matches, and I think it was the best Jon Moxley match that he has had since the Shingo Takagi match in San Jose that he had in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He has not had a match this good since then. And I think he was motivated because he knew this was the send-off match for Danielson. It was a world title match. He hasn't had a match like this in a while. And he put a body on the line. He did the Death Rider onto the concrete. He took a German off the top rope. Number of things that was just like, this guy was ready to do some work tonight. And on the whole, I thought it conveyed what it needed to do. It was very reminiscent of the Brock Lesnar Undertaker finish, where it was very MMA based, like felt flat at the time, but the cost of it feeling flat at the time was some iconic. Sorry, couldn't get the word out. Imagery where you just see Danielson out and Moxley can take that image and use that to prop up his title reign, because everybody knows Moxley can win and beat anybody on the roster. Like he's protected without the title. So there's no upgrade. All you need to do is just show that picture of him choking out Danielson, just the still. And you've got all the credibility you need for the run. So I think it's bittersweet. You're not supposed to come away feeling happy about anything that you saw. But if they had a message and an objective and a mission statement, I think they accomplished it.
Yeah, I agree that I thought the match was really good, and but I think the finish actually played a lot into it.
Mm-hmm.
This goes all the way back to when Asuka came on the scene in NXT. Chokeout finishes are rarely not anticlimactic. Like there's because they're so still.
Mm-hmm.
I think in an arena, it's sort of like, oh, so the person's laying there and the person's laying there and the person laying there, and now it's over. Like it's not it doesn't feel like a climax. It's a little,
Like it's hard to do the slowly the guy's choking out and the hand comes out, and
right,
because that's not how it happens in an MMA fight,
right.
like that. And they
Unless
want
you're
to
Samoa Joe
that.
match,
Right? But every time you want the guy to tap, and you want to see like the visual of like
right?
the guy is visibly giving up,
Yeah,
and Bryan it wasn't that he was giving up, it's that his body gave
he
up.
gave out.
Him.
He gave
His
out.
body gave up on him. Like
yeah,
he just like
right.
literally.
But this was
choked the life out of him.
And it was probably a very realistic ending. It was like a gritty, realistic ending,
Yes.
But that doesn't make it exciting. Like
Nope.
Stone Cold passing out in the sharpshooter with blood raining down his face and letting out a primal scream before he does is a dramatic way to do a knockout or a pass out ending. This was, to me, part of it wasn't just that he lost. I think a lot of people expected him to lose. I think it was the way that he lost. And I saw it coming because they were doing the thing that's like that trope now that everyone does where it's like I overcome the thing that's supposed to knock me out and then I spit in their face or flip them off and then I go out or something,
Mm-hmm.
So they did that. But I think just the nature of the finish was part of what made that. You just felt this like, from the crowd. And then it was just like quiet as they realized, oh, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I'm going to hold my judgment on like good, bad. I know a lot of people are hating it, and there's in our Discord.
What do we got in the Discord? I want to hear this. I bounced away. Like
yeah.
Like I decided I put some comments in, and I'm like, I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
I want to be fresh.
I think people are originally. I think, oh, by the way, if you want to join our Discord, email gg@fightgamemedia.com.
Always
you can read all this all for yourself. There were a lot of people who felt that said they felt deflated and they were like, oh, like there was some discussion of like killing the town and things like that. But then the defenders started coming in. So there were a couple of people, at least one who was in the arena, who loved it, absolutely loved it. Because it was like it was a feeling I never had at a wrestling show before. It was like so dramatic. It was a major
pro wrestling angle that you.
It was a major angle, yeah. And I think at pay-per-views, I think people are conditioned to expect more satisfying endings, whereas TV shows you're more prone to end on like a cliffhanger or something like that. And it's rare to actually end a pay-per-view show, especially with a hometown hero. Like that's a ballsy move.
The Empire Strikes Back of AEW pay-per-view.
It's a ballsy move, yeah. For sure. But yeah, a good match.
Everything I stand by that it was a fantastic match. It was an excellent strategic send-off for Danielson for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I understand the risk of alienating the state of Washington in general with that finish.
Yeah.
But if they're not coming back there for a while, or they can have Swerve and Darby positioned and Brody in some excellent, like, top of the card thing, it'll be okay. They're just not going to be doing a pay-per-view there. Or if they do, they better not. They have to, give them something to send them home real happy.
Right. Like just booking a Dynamite in Tacoma or Seattle right now is a bad idea. 6 months from now, 8 months from now, until they make up for this.
The taste in the mouth is not going to be.
Taste in the mouth is not there. At the very least, it's not going to grow it.
Yeah.
Because they're in a place where they need to be growing. All right,
okay,
let's
you want to knock through the pre-show in 5 minutes? Let's get through all 5 matches in 5 minutes. You want to try and do that?
Sure.
Okay. Brian Cage defeated Atlantis Jr. for win the Ring of Honor TV title.
Mm-hmm.
There were a number of base and high flyer matches, and this was the first one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at this and thought, okay, Atlantis Jr. and Soberano Jr. might be going back to New Japan for the World Tag League in a couple of weeks. That was my takeaway. What did you have?
Barely watched it.
Okay.
I was walking my dog with the phone in my hand, watching it on YouTube as we were walking around. Basically, what I took away was, I'm happy, Ryan. I'm actually, I think it's a good move. I think Atlantis is probably someone who gets seen as a person who just makes appearances.
Mm-hmm.
And so as long as they're going to have an ROH TV title, having someone who's actually going to be a bit of a fixture and do that, I'm fine with. So
Cage is starting to look his age a little bit. I've noticed that in the match. He just, I don't know.
He's got a fairly normal haircut right now. Yeah.
He's starting to look a little leathery from the tans. So.
It's some moisturizer. Yeah.
Anna Jay defeated Harley Cameron.
Okay. I want to rewatch this because as I was, like I said, I was sort of multitasking while I was watching it. And I was really looking forward to it, not because I expected to be some breakthrough match, but I imagined that the crowd is buying into the gimmick that Anna Jay is better, even if she is or isn't.
Yes, they want to believe that this women's division can outperform the positions that they are put in. Yeah. And I think that's the start of it. And they know that she's been around for a while. I think she looks markedly better than she did when she left for Japan. I think she, at her level of training that she had once she was able to go to Japan and they were to teach her some new fundamentals, she picked them up and you could just see it. And there's a confidence. And she's not going to be able to do a main event match,
sure,
but it's a start.
But she's on the right track. That's
absolutely. Meanwhile, Harley Cameron, love her to death. She moves 5 extra movements for every 3 that she needs. There's extra for every movement.
Yeah.
And it's just extra. And it's fine.
Yeah.
But you can tone it down and do the same with a little bit less.
Yeah. She's so used to just playing a character at ringside that when she actually does a match, she's still doing the ringside act, I think. I did notice though, after it was over and they, went to the panel in the arena, that Harley got the big cheer as the loser as she was standing up, and the crowd chanted Harley as she left. I don't know if you heard
they
that.
like Harley. I mean,
they love her. I love Harley.
Something, but I honestly think Saraya is more of an albatross around her neck than people.
Yeah,
realize.
I do. I agree. Yeah.
So, the Acclaimed Anthony Bowens and Max Caster with Daddy Ass defeated Mansoor and Mason Madden with Rico Constantino.
I cannot believe that.
WWE angle with 3-minute warning and the Chuck Palumbo Billy Gunn wedding angle.
That may have even been a WWF angle. Was that long ago?
It might have been, but I decided, we'll keep it. We'll keep it from getting copyright infringement or whatever.
Oh man.
Match was fine. I immediately lost all interest when Rico was the guy that was brought in. However, he was fine in his match, but I was really impressed with the angle on Rampage last night and the assault that MXM did on the Acclaim to build up this match. And I felt like as soon as I saw that and I saw what this match was going to be, it was a waste of the resources and the opportunity to get those guys over. The joke ruined the credibility.
I agree, but I didn't even see. So I was out of town. I did not get to watch Rampage, so I didn't even see that angle, and was just so I came in cold seeing Rico Constantino, or just Rico, and I just it was one of those God, AEW, why are you doing this to yourselves? Yep. No one cared about Rico when he was around the first time. It's he was not. This is not a person who has a huge amount of nostalgia. Yeah. So I don't know. I agree. I think it was a fine little pre-show fun match as you're finding your seat and getting your drinks and things like that. I kind of am sad that the Acclaim didn't go all the way with their when they were kind of getting an edge to them, and I thought maybe they'd be going heel, because ditching the kind of kiddie act and Billy Gunn and stuff like that, I think they could have actually been on the little upswing, but fine, they can do scissors versus tips and all that stuff, and whatever.
I think they were not able to capitalize on the popularity and sustain it, and I think that they are an act that is now 2 years past its prime.
Yeah,
and you have other acts like the Outrunners that people have adopted that were very similar in the level of gimmick, but now that's their new pet like mascot team. Yep. And the Acclaimed is fine, it's there, but the best thing that they can do for the Acclaimed is break them up.
I agree.
The one criticism I have about this 0 hour before we get to the last thing is that there is nothing really about this 0 hour that if you watched it was going to make you say, I should watch this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And that's what this should be.
Yeah.
There should be like a sell for the pay-per-view. I never really got a sense that they were doing anything but going through the motions. It
was a pre-show in the most literal sense of the word, in that it was the show before the show. But it was just a warm-up. It was literally just to have something happening while people were taking their seats. I don't even remember a lot of hype up. They did a little bit of that panel. I did like having the desk inside the arena. I know that's kind of a WWE thing, but like I like little things like that make it feel like more of a sports broadcast. But yeah, especially when the next match came out, and I thought, how is this match getting me excited about the show, other than who won? Because
the Outrunners, Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly versus John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and the Prime Athletes is a Rampage main event, and it was on 0 hour instead.
Right.
It's one or the other. And I mean, Rampage, I don't even know how many more episodes of Rampage are left, but it's less than 10. Do the math, it's off by the end of the year, maybe even in November, who knows? But it's just, that was the end of it. Like the Outrunners got the pin after, Orange Cassidy teased getting the pin. Prime Athletes lost again. Shocking. But, the most important thing that happened on this pre-show was the Adam Copeland and Dax Harwood talking about the hurricane, the Milton and everything on there.
Yeah, and it was the same video they've been running on Twitter and things like that. But I liked how hard they hit it, and I guess this was originally going to be Outrunners and FTR in the 8-man, but they were staying home to deal with
that's fair.
The real life. So bless them, and hope a lot of people give to that.
Yeah, all the best. Yeah, find a QR code, find whatever.
Yep,
you got something to give. We all go through We'll seem like everybody goes through a climate change level tragedy at some point in their lives, and we rely on the community and on each other. Look for the helpers. You know what I'm saying here, but be a helper if you can be a helper.
Yep. One other thing we mentioned was the most awkward Antonio Inoki tribute I think we've ever seen. As Tony brought out the grandchildren of Antonio Inoki and tried to lead the crowd in Inoki's chant, which they did not know, and he tried to teach them, and then the video crew didn't know exactly how to cue it up. Everyone was awkward, and then they went back.
That went about as well as I thought it was going to go, to be quite honest. I was frankly glad that they did some type of token Inoki.
Yeah.
It was just, it didn't feel like much, but it was something. It was like a last minute, really got to do something. They also had Mercedes Moné and Queen Emanata get set up for Dynamite.
Right. Just special Wednesday. Gift to Garrett Gonzalez.
And myself, I'm super excited for this one. And then it looks like we got Okada and Kyle O'Reilly coming up as well.
Yeah, and I think that'll be a fun match.
Sure.
Okay. Let's we're trying to hit 90 minutes solid.
We got an hour to cover the rest of the show.
We got an hour to go.
We're tracking well. We're doing good.
All right, Hangman Page versus Jay White. This is something that came up in the Discord, and I'll ask you what you think.
Okay.
And anyone you were watching with, if they had any thoughts about it. Is Jay White currently a babyface?
He is positioned as a babyface, but their idea of what a babyface should be and what the audience responds to as a babyface may be different. The answer is yes, but I have to qualify yes.
So yeah, I think we talked a little bit about it in the Discord as it was happening. that I was like, this is very much a babyface versus heel match, but just the visual of Jay White being a babyface and getting people to cheer for him and things like that felt weird. He definitely wrestled as a babyface. He was more aggressive. He wasn't taking shortcuts. He was, more active more offensive than defensive, which is different for him. And Hangman was clearly meant to be the heel, and he got a clean win, but he's still got that nasty heel beard, and and I think the people don't know yet because he hasn't spent enough time around, like the Bullet Club has, or not Bullet Club, but the Bang Bang Gang has been baby faces since June, as far as I can tell. They've been only facing heels since June. And they've only been programmed against heels since June, other than some multi-man stuff. And so Jay White just sort of slips into that. And I think they sort of thought, oh, well, they're all getting cheered, so when he comes in, he'll get cheered too. But I don't think the fans have realized that, obviously they don't pay attention to tunnel lore as much as I do.
It has been 9 years since Jay White has been a babyface.
Yeah.
Approximately. It's like he was with Chaos pretty early on, but even then it was kind of like, going on here. Back in the Young Lions.
Yeah, he was never, that was always like, I'm going to slit your throat in a few months.
Yeah, so, even the most, curmudgeon wrestling fan who's been around to see everything is still, kind of hard to lean into this. Maybe been a little too long before we got to that point.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I'm fine with it because I can see what they're trying to do with it, but I don't see him and I think, wow, you're my top babyface. No. You know what I mean? He's almost like a tweener babyface with an edge, kind of like, this is a weird analogy to use, but he's like Gambit in the X-Men, right? You never quite know where he stands, but he's a good guy. And you always kind of have your is that guy gonna gut me with a playing card or something?
You're saying Jay White's about to make himself famous?
Yeah, it's just, you know what I'm saying? He just has that edge about him, and that's good because Jay White is the goody babyface doesn't feel authentic.
No, I agree. He's got to find a way if they're going to position him in this way, and I think we agree that he might be on a path to a Wrestle Dynasty
match with David Finlay.
Wrestle Dynasty? Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty, right? Yeah, a match with Jay Finlay.
David Finlay and Jay White seems like it's happening. And everything that I the minute Jay White won this match, I was like, oh, it's happening with Finlay. It's October. We're getting to January. They're heating this up. Sure, fine. I am here for it. It's something that I have a show called Speaking of Strong Style where we talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling all the time, and we will cover this topic immensely every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, but we're going to get back to this show. Switch Jay White is getting primed for that, but I love what Switch Jay White and Hangman Adam Page wrestle each other. I was there in Long Beach in 2018 when they wrestled or 2017 when they wrestled each other, or 2018, whatever it was, and it was a fantastic match, and I think they actually had the same finish. Even though Jay was a heel at the time, where Hangman went for the buckshot lariat, buckled, Jay White hit the Blade Runner. Because I predicted the finish tonight, and it happened. And I was like, hell yeah, that's exactly the finish.
I don't remember the 2018 finish, but this one was so crisp. It wasn't even like Hangman botched it, in story. He was just he was pulling off a buckshot, and Jay just leaned into it, and it was just excellent. So I really liked it. I'm looking forward to see what they do with Jay in between now and January. And you know what I'd actually like to see is Jay White and Jack Perry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just want Jay White to go on a spree of defeating Wish versions of Jay White.
Jay White is the most excellent counter-based wrestler out there. Yeah. He can take any move and counter it into something crisp and efficient. And I kind of likened him to Randy Orton in that way, where
Mhm.
everything he does in the ring just looks good and is technically sound, and you are never disappointed when the match is over with him. It may not be the most exciting thing, but you are in for a show at least. Like you are getting a match for this guy. And I like that about him. And Hangman Page is one of my favorite wrestlers, and
And he's great right now. I hope that this, like I said, he came out of that last pay-per-view as, to me, being the guy who should have been in the main event picture.
Mm-hmm.
Just going by like momentum and records, like you come off a match like that, you should be in the world title scene. So him losing here will be interesting. I wonder if it's like a thing.
It doesn't affect him at all, I don't think.
Well, it could. There's different ways. Like it's either he takes the loss, he just becomes unhinged and goes on to something else, or the program is Jay and Hangman, and Jay's his new obsession.
Hangman was always upper mid card before this match, and he's still upper mid card afterwards.
Yeah, but I know, but I feel like if you're going to have arguably the feud of the year, you need to go up. It's the winner that needs to level up. But I get right now you're not going to have Mox and Hangman in the same space.
Yeah,
like there's no
you
room.
can still level up Hangman now and get Jay over. My position is I don't think this hurt Hangman in any way. And if it didn't hurt him, if it at least didn't do any damage, I can live with that, even though I do agree with you. Beating Swerve, who was a former world champion at the time, should put you in a position for a world title.
Yeah, you beat the last world title.
1,000%. It was a light out thing. I'm sure they're leaning behind that it didn't even count on the record or whatever.
Yeah, it's true. But I just worry.
But I'm with you.
Here's what I'm worried. I mean, to me, I'm like, is this another example where someone wins a feud and then the winner of the feud is waning, or and then the loser of the feud gets the more high profile next program? Because Swerve clearly is, getting a big babyface program. But we will see.
But again, too, we shall.
Well, it wasn't who I thought it was going to be, but we'll get to that.
Ricky Bobby. All right, we got Mariah May and Willow Nightingale. Let's get back on track here.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
I thought it outkicked its coverage, and I was every time Willow Nightingale goes out there, she does not miss. The only time that she's had an issue with a good match this year was in CMLL, and a match with arguably nobody watched, and it was just to get their person back the title. Totally fine, given Stephanie Vicker left. Mariah May, I thought, was fantastic as well, and she rose to the occasion. Tell me your thoughts. What do you got? Everything.
I think Mariah May, I'm a big believer in Mariah May, and I want her to put it together, and I get frustrated with the people who are just declaring that she's not working. I think she's catching on, and I think the play is to stick with her for a while, because I think she's figuring it out every time. The main thing she needs to work on is her not outside the ring persona. And to me, it's probably to be a little more vicious, like, but I don't know. I have faith in her, and I think she's going to get better and better. Willow, like you said, she never misses. This is an example of what I was just talking about, where Willow got this world title match by winning a number one contenders match, which she earned by losing a match to Chris Statlander and then losing her CML title. But then somehow gets put in the match.
Chris Statlander is challenging for two titles that is not the AEW world title.
Right. But she just invoiced her former manager for damages of not.
Let's just move on.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was a really fun match. They had some really. Speaking of counters, they had some really fun counters where like Willow was going for the pounce early, and Mariah did her like headbutt, and that spot at the very end when they teased. Willow doing the Dr. Bomb off the top, and like the crowd was like, oh crap, and they were ready for that, and then she reversed it. That was an example of the heel getting a win that felt like a peak.
A very excellent, like, anticipatory moment that was just flipped on its ear, and then
just went for the kill right afterwards. It was a perfect way to end the match.
Great ending. I think Mariah came out great. Her gear looked great. Like I think she's coming into her own. Perfect finish. 2 great finishes in a row. And then we get the Jack Perry match.
I will say this. We can't go anywhere with the Mariah stuff until Mina and Tony come back. Like, she's got that title until at least they make their return because they have to close that chapter.
See, I think they do. I think they do, but I almost hope. I don't know. You need to bring Tony back. You probably
they're a couple right now. Like they're a pair in Japan already,
right?
And so they're doing the parallel to Mariah with those two.
Right.
So that's very deliberate to what's going on with Mariah. So until they bring that around, nothing can really move forward with Mariah.
See, I feel like you could do more if they're willing to be patient. I feel like part of what Mariah has to do is establish herself as a character outside of those other two people. Mm-hmm. And to me, you're not going to do that by making the big program their return. Like, to me, I think you could, if you can space it out, like doing a program with Anna Jay.
Sure.
Who's like, Anna Jay's climbing up. She's proven that people are getting behind her. And then having a couple of those feuds where she's just continuing to beat people and then bring them in. I don't know, but I also get like you don't want to go too long without having Tony Storm.
They have to be part of the journey at some point.
Yeah.
I
absolutely.
don't believe that Mariah May will lose that title until we get the pit stop of that in some way, shape, or form. She doesn't have to lose the title to them, but at some point in November, December, they're gonna come knocking, and they could show up in San Jose this week. But I still think Britt Baker is still in the fold in some way, shape, or form. They still have to get through that because she has challengers, and I'm interested in that. But you know what else I'm interested in? I want to hear what you think about this next match.
Oh, gosh. Okay, I'm very on the anti Jack Perry train right now. I hate his jeans. I hate his matches. I hate his bus. And not in a good way.
Stupid hair.
I'm fine with the hair. I like his hair and I like his smirk.
Oh man, I 0 for 2, swing and a miss.
So there was a really interesting comparison early in this match where Tony Schiavone compared Jack Perry to Katsuyori Shibata because there was a time in New Japan where Katsuyori Shibata like basically was seen as a betrayer, a traitor to New Japan, and then returned to New Japan and was like, you know, kind of an outcast to everyone, where everyone, you know, shunned him and things. And I thought, wow, that's a stretch, but I kind of see it. Like,
that was totally true.
Like, I was listening to it and I thought, okay, yeah, but I felt I felt like Lloyd Benson in the '88 vice presidential debate where he's like, "You're no Jack Kennedy, like Jack Perry, you are no Katsuyori Shibata."
I got the story. It involved Kadani, but I don't know it well enough to repeat it here. But it was explained to me in a way of like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And you're just like, wow, okay then. But Shibata was people were definitely getting heat for a Shibata presence at some point.
Yeah. So yeah, most of this match I just kind of felt annoyed. Although it was great. It was great to see Shibata really do a match. Like, his matches have been so showcasey. You know, over the time.
The best Shibata has looked.
Definitely the best Shibata looked, and the most unleashed, most old Shibata that he looked. I mean, he was laying in the chops. He was doing the moves. He took a DDT to the floor, which was super scary.
In AEW.
Yeah.
Has he had a higher profile match? Can you think of anything?
Profile no, I can't think of anything.
For AEW.
Was it his first singles title match?
Not well. They've had Ring of Honor.
Okay, yeah, I don't count that.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, this feels like the most prominent placing that he's been put in.
Yeah.
In up till now, which is great until he became the first 8 eggs that they tried to fit into a dozen carton of 48 eggs that they had bought.
Right. So yeah, I was loving seeing Shibata in it, but then that finish, I know the idea is that Jack Perry pisses off the fans. That it's like, that's the kind of heel he is. He's going to have finishes that he's the House of Torture guy. Mm-hmm. Like, he's the guy who's going to have finishes that make the fans mad. but Shibata beat himself. It was not Jack Perry pulling some shenanigans. It was just him getting in a choke and Shibata forgetting to put his shoulders up.
Aggressively pursuing the choke without line of sight of anything else.
Right.
I'm fine with all of that, in all honesty. I'm gonna let you keep talking, and then I'm gonna wait until I get your side of all this.
I don't know if I have much more to think. I mean, I think the post match,
everything. Like, okay. We have to be okay. We have brevity here.
I don't like Shibata being incompetent. But I'll put that. Okay, so just to recap, just so we make sure what's going on. So
yes.
Jack Perry is lining up to hit Shibata with a belt shot after beating him clean. He's no point to do that. But Daniel Garcia makes the save. I thought the fans gave him a good reaction when he came out. They were happy to see him in this spot. Comes out, makes the save. Chases Perry out. MJF's music hit. Big reaction. MJF hits the ring, goes face to face with Garcia. They do not come to blows yet. Jack Perry hits Daniel Garcia from behind with the belt, walks out. No real interaction between MJF and Perry. For 2 seconds, I thought MJF was going to be part of the Elite, which would have been very interesting, but no. Jack Perry leaves. MJF starts asking, "Are you okay, Danny?" and pounding on him, which I thought was fun.
Diamond Ring comes back.
Dynamite Diamond Ring comes back, takes the mic, talks trash to him. As he's about to hit him with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, Adam Cole's music hits. And huge reaction. that music still, there is no that has the Pavlovian response to a crowd as that music. That may be one of the best wrestling themes ever in terms of just getting a crowd to pop.
You get the pop 1000%.
So he comes down. And I didn't write down exactly what he did. Did they? He just sort of cleared the ring with him, right? Or did they even come to blows?
He sprinted the ring. MJF got the heck out of there, and then they did the chant.
Yeah.
Cole helped up Garcia, and then they did a fist bump, and it was just kind of like the music played. It was the whole deal.
Yeah.
Shibata was forgotten by the end of it. Garcia looked like a geek. Everyone was supposed to be like rescued by Adam Cole. MJF is here and then gone again.
Oh, also
whiplash.
Also,
yeah.
MJF announced that he was not out due to the neck injury placed upon him by Daniel Garcia, but that he was off making movies.
Great. Cool. Let's ruin the illusion. Let's do
Ruined it. MJF, I don't know what's up with this guy.
Hey, guys, I'm glad you're all getting paid, but this booking is super weird, and no one's benefiting from it. I got a little worried when Adam Cole leapt off of the apron, and he just kind of made a grimace when he landed.
I think he was too. I think he thought,
like, "Oh no!"
I do too. I thought the same thought. Oh no, he's gonna do it again. So
this was a crossroads of the show that it could have gone in many very bad directions.
Mm-hmm.
This left a bad taste in my mouth, but at the same time, I understood that they need to get a lot of these guys back onto the screen. They need Adam Cole there. I don't expect a bunch of the guys that were on the show tonight to be a Dynamite on Wednesday. It's like, let's get some of these other guys to do some mic work, because I think it could be a pretty interview-heavy show, if I had to guess.
Oh, absolutely. Lots of promos. Probably not one from Daniel Garcia.
Maybe not.
Yeah, so there were lots of things that I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're kind of doing. It seems like what they're doing is they use that match to pair off. You're going to MJF and Cole, and then I imagine Garcia is going to push for the TNT title and lose to Jack Perry at Full Gear. But the way that there was a way you could have done that better. Like, have Adam Cole come back. He's super over. He's going to be over. Everyone's going to be so happy to see him. No one's going to care that the double angle was just dropped, and no one's going to care that he's inexplicably a babyface. Like, no one will care. And that's fine, because it's like, you don't want to do the sunk cost thing of like, well, we've got to explain how he blah, 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 and all this stuff. I'm like, no one cares. Adam Cole's back. Everyone's happy he's back. And I think it's fine that they're like, I hate you too, and now we hate each other again. But Daniel Garcia, if you really are going to say this is a guy we're investing in for the future, all you had to do was have Adam Cole and him both climb up on the turnbuckles at the end. Instead of, just like, hey, I saved you. Great. We're equals now. You were on the level of me. Now let's go, to the fans and high five and all that stuff and walk out together, as opposed to Daniel Garcia just giving him the ring and dumping out and never being mentioned again. And it's like, all right, back to your little spot, Daniel Garcia. Can't wait for your Twitter promos where you're crying about losing again.
If you're investing in the future right now, Daniel Garcia, the best analogy I can use is he's a low yield, fixed rate savings account.
Yeah.
You're not getting much out of him, but you put money in and that's fine.
But if you're going to do anything, do something.
Right. But that's not what, like, you see it, and he's a setup guy for the next guy. And
but they just spent the last 2 weeks, like in the last 6 weeks, telling us he wasn't.
Yeah, but they spent the last 6 weeks telling us one thing and then changing their mind about it 3 weeks later. Fuck, you had the Outrunners beat Young Bucks, who they had coming in looking like tip top with FTR and the Young Bucks, and then a couple weeks ago, like the Outrunners just beat them clean in a tag team match.
Yeah,
so like. The future can change real quick in AEW.
Yeah. Well, I know, but I'm just saying there was an easy way to not downplay somebody. Just stop.
Self-inflicted wounds, man. Like, I'm with you on this. I don't understand why you put the time in to make it a big deal that he's come back and he signed this contract and he chose AEW and this is where the best wrestler wrestle.
Yeah.
And then you treat the title that he's going up against as secondary because he's going to get his ass kicked by a main event heel.
Right. That's the other thing, is the TNT title is definitely, secondary to anything MJF does.
So just everything just kind of, the optics of the whole thing was just really, really frustrating. And I'm just thankful that we were able to get it, the taste out of my mouth, with an excellent match next.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Will Ospreay versus Ricochet versus Konosuke Takeshita for the international title. As soon as this graphic came up, you just felt everyone go like, oh yeah. Like the entire arena is just like, we're ready for this. So the fans were up.
Was the dude in the yellow suit behind the tree just going?
Hey, yeah. Right. And I was too. And they had a hell of a match. It just felt like like everything you wanted it to be up until the very end. And so the crowd was super into it. I absolutely loved the first major spot they did, where Will and Ricochet for the third time did their flipping little mirroring spot where they strike the pose on the knee together and everyone cheers. And then Takeshita just comes in and kicks them both in the head at the same time. And I swear I heard Jeff Hawkins yelp and jump out of his chair from Los Angeles.
I think a number of people just went for it. It's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic moment. And, a first of many that you're about to describe.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't even take a lot of notes on it. All I did was note like that this was a classic, like almost like a PWG match. I want to say yes.
A PWG match as well.
There's some, I was like, this is straight out of Reseda right now. Like it's just those huge spots. There's the no selling got to a point where I was like noticing. I was like, okay, this is a little much.
I had a conversation about whether this was the best three-way there's ever been. And I could think of Cena, Rollins, and Brock Lesnar that one time, but it's a completely different match. You know what I mean? Like the layout of that match with one guy being out of it for a number of it, and then the other two just kind of doing the rest of it. These were all three guys just working immensely with each other and top of their craft, You can tell Ricochet is still getting tired in these matches.
He is, but he looked better tonight than he had.
He looked fantastic tonight. They brought out a table early and waited to the very end to bring it all through. And then
I accidentally summoned my wife at that spot because I was listening with headphones so I don't bother everybody in the house. And all she heard was me go, "What? Oh no. Oh my God." And then she comes in and is like, "What happened?" So I had to rewind it and show her, and she actually popped for it. She was like, "Wow, that was amazing."
So this was a 5-star match, at least. That's like, if you want to find faults with this match, it's that the finish was somewhat flat.
Booking criticism, not match. Yeah.
But technically, excitingly, everything about this match, hard to find any fault with it. 3 top-level people doing top-level work and collaborating in the ring in a way and just making everything look good.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything looked great. Everything looked amazing. The spots, the timing. Like, if you're a fan of this kind of wrestling, this is about as good as it gets.
Yes.
I think it ended with a story, which is kind of the theme of the show, is that the matches themselves took second fiddle to the aftermath of the matches, or how the match finished. I don't know how many people would be surprised that Kyle Fletcher turned and because during the match I thought, as long as you're doing this big multi-man match, what made this even better was Kyle Fletcher in there in a 4-way. And then I realized why he wasn't. And I thought they pulled it off well, like that he just came in as assassin. It's kind of weird that they did the same kind of turn twice in the night with him and Yuta. But I'm very, very, very bullish on Kyle Fletcher. I think he is
1,000% the future, and
he is the future. I think he is a top 5 guy in.
Did you want to get the name? Did you want to get the number and name of his nutritionist, Kevin?
It's too late for me. It's too late for me on that.
I don't know. Maybe a couple of pills here or there, and a couple of shots. And you can
some tattoos. Maybe bleach my hair.
My goodness. I don't think that's natural, but at some point, I also don't really care.
The dude's he's investing in himself. Absolutely. He's investing in his career. Absolutely. And I think it's paying off. This is another match. Like there's a lot of repetition on this match, because this is another match where you feel like and you pointed it out in the Discord that you're setting up 2 matches in one ending, where now you've got Will out of the title picture, but he's in a blood feud with Kyle. Mm-hmm. Kyle's got a great match that can elevate him. And Ricochet can go after the international title, which I think is great. That's fine.
And, I think everything is set up great with this. You move in 2 different directions, and we knew the Callis feud wasn't going to be over, and he's got to retire that before he moves on to the world title. He could try against Moxley, but I think the Callis family will probably screw him in any opportunity to go for the world title as we get there. So there were a couple of bullet point things that happened before we got to our next match. Orange Cassidy got dapped up by Jerry Lynn to say no one's ever seen him and he could be the man if he wanted to be.
Which was very weird.
Sure, whatever, just like cool. Thanks for reminding us that you have made Orange Cassidy less cool than he was 2 years ago. A lot like
1 year ago. Yeah.
Like everything. Like he's overexposed and he's lost a little bit of his mystique. Yeah. And whether it's because he wants to be in a best friend kind of conglomeration group or whatever, there's something just kind of if he wants to be the man, the company's got to treat him like the man and not treat him like the guy that they can count on to be on every TV show main event that they don't care about.
I think he's got the curse of being the guy who's going to be over without the title.
Yes.
Even though the most over he ever was when he was defending a title.
Yes.
And I think everything changed. The butterfly effect for him was when they did not let him beat Moxley last year at Full Gear.
Yeah.
That's when the timeline shifted for him.
So then we had Swerve Strickland came out, and Nana introduced him, did the whole thing. MVP and Shelton Benjamin then followed out. The whole long story short of it is they were trying to get him to join their Hurt Association, Hurt Syndicate, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I still think the name should be Pain Management, but I will die on that hill.
That's great. I'm for that.
Pain Management should be the name of the group, 1000%, but I can't do that. Swerve had a fantastic promo where he weighed the cost and the benefits of Nana as his manager and came to the conclusion that he's family and you don't turn on family. The Hurt Syndicate then said it wasn't an ask, you were being told. And where everyone thought Bobby Lashley was coming out, he did not, in fact, come out.
Nope.
And I kind of think the reaction to Shelton Benjamin caused Tony to think maybe they can push that back and get a match. I can get a match out of this first, and then we can do that. So we could get Shelton and Swerve at Full Gear easily.
Yep. I'm making a running list, just chicken scratch of potential full gear card if we have time at the end.
And then we'll revisit it.
Make some predictions. Yeah.
It was a good promo, but we're just trying to hit our time, so there's not much to do other than see where we go from after that.
Yeah, it went a little long, but I thought they did a good job of genuinely not really knowing. I mean, other than knowing where they're going, is Swerve feuding with them. Like the way they played it to the crowd of like, he did play it well. Of like, am I gonna knock out Prince Nana right now for talking about coffee instead of managing my career?
Like Nana played it well. Like
Nana played it well. He played it well.
Of whether he was, going to get dispatched, getting called out for selling weed to kids, that's not a good look, but it was fun.
That was a good look. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Hologram defeated the Beast Mortos in a 2 out of 3 falls match.
Yeah. Weird. This is when I really started to notice the weird match order of this show. That was a weird.
This was 1000% because of the commitment to Fox Mexico.
Yeah.
You are going to see lucha matches all the time now.
Do you believe we'll get a lucha title?
I asked.
I'm feeling like there's a belt being made right now.
There was not a response that gave me confidence that the answer was no.
I'm actually kind of fine with that. I'm in the camp of I don't mind multiple belts as long as each one of them has a reason to be. So like if there's a different match type, kind of thing. Like I'd rather
Mortos, you get Commander, you get Hologram,
yeah,
Mystico, Soberano, Atlantis, Volador, and you just have matches here or there. Like you're gonna get these guys over, and if you have like a viable financial reason to get behind it, like that's how the money talks.
But do like a Latin American title or a lucha title and make it like lucha rules, like do a little Mike Tenay where you're explaining like this is how the rules are different from a traditional match. I think it'd be fun.
I think they could get it over way easier than a lot of these other convoluted title ideas, but I also don't know if they're willing to commit to that. All right, let's talk about this match. Other than Hologram got Mortos got the first pin, right? No,
Hologram got the first one.
Got the first one. Mortos got the second,
and
then they did the lucha trope where they each went for the combination that got them their first pinfall, and then it didn't work out. And then I don't even remember what the finish was. What was it? A diving crucifix bomb and cradle. Mortos kicked out, and then he got a portal bomb for the third fall.
And it was fun. It was entertaining. Doing it after the Ricochet Takeshita Ospreay match was a choice. Like it felt very lightweight.
You got a breather though with all like this.
You did, stuff. You did. But I feel like it would have been. I get
what you're saying about.
I think it would have been a good second match.
Yeah, or if you had flipped this and the Ricochet Takeshita match, that might have been a good play.
Yeah, it would have felt like an escalation or something. Yeah. I think. What I would have done was put it second and then move Willow and Mariah later, just to get that women's title further up the card. But Yeah, it's fine. Lightweight. It's a piece of cotton candy. You ate it and it's done.
It wasn't cotton candy, but in fact had glass in it.
This was definitely the opposite. Darby Allin and Brody King. Darby, 100%. I'm still on the camp. I think Tony Khan has earmarked him. You were the face of this company next year, and he's the next world champion, I believe. I don't know when that's going to be.
If he is Rey Mysterio?
If I a bit, yeah. I think that Tony sees him as that. I'm going to do with him what they should have done with Rey Mysterio and make his size and his thing a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
And have this scrappy underdog world champion, you know? He's got a great story.
Getting a lot of that energy from it too.
Yeah. And so I think, you know, this match is exactly what needed to be done if they wanted to do that, which was find the guy he has the most chemistry with, that he can be the most Darby possible, the scrappy underdog, and just let him do things that only they can do to each other because they trust each other completely. It was fun. I really liked the pre-entrance video for Darby. I thought that was a cool presentation, and the crowd really liked it, of him skating toward the arena. Hometown guy, it really works well. There were some spots that were scary, where it's like, I don't know how he's not bleeding out right now or concussed or broken. But there were some other spots where I thought, wow, that was really impressive, but that actually was really, you did that really well. Mainly the side, where they took the steps and did it sideways and then went up to the turnbuckle, and Darby pushed Brody off onto the top of the steps. So much. It was scary, but he hit that so perfectly that I was like, wow, that was a scary looking spot that looked incredibly safe when I looked back at it. And then the coffin drop on top of it is like very impressive, but it was like very safe because he's on a flat surface and no one's going to die doing that. I really liked the finish of that, leading to a near count out. Brody gets his his wherewithal, and beats the count. I think he got it in at 9, and then immediately getting hit with a coffin drop for the end. I thought that was a really clever. Those are the kind of finishes that if Darby does become, like their champion or their top guy as a world beater, those kind of finishes where it's like, it's clever, like he won with cunning, and I beat him outside the ring, but then I set him up, and to do that, I think that's a lot better than the kind of thing that like you would see WWE do, where it's like they sort of do a banana peel ending, or like, he rolls him up and holds him down for 3, surprise, and like you don't believe that he wouldn't kick out. So I liked he kind of, used his smarts to beat him. Yeah. What'd you think?
Okay, so I think that this match checked off all the boxes and accomplished everything that it needed to accomplish in order to get Darby Allin over in a David and Goliath type of scenario, that he can overcome a beast, ergo he can overcome anyone on the roster. To me, and I don't know if anyone else feels this way, Darby Allin is really overexposed. And his matches, what you're going to get. And they're almost exhausting to a point in the pace and frequency that we get them at. He needs to be a pay-per-view only wrestler and not wrestle on the TV, frankly, because it needs to be a special attraction when you get these matches. It needs to be like a holy shit kind of like scenario. I am actively desensitized by the Darby Allin matches, and I don't know if other people are. And I am concerned, if we are heading towards him as the world champion, of what kind of matches we're going to get, for how long, and exactly how he's going to be the David slaying all the Goliaths. Is it going to be violent, bloody matches, or is it going to be technical wrestling for the main event level? These are all things that I'm kind of weighing here and there. That doesn't make me entirely on the bus to put the belt on Darby, but I'm also not against it. You know what I mean? Like, I can be convinced that this is the right play. I don't think it's the wrong play, but I do think that if you lean into certain aspects of what his wrestling character is, instead of keeping it about what the AEW world title is about, then I think you are more on the right track of staying true to the authenticity of AEW rather than making it in the vision of the guy that you think is going to get the viewers to check in and get you committed to the rest of the
That's a great way to put it, because you don't want it to be the AEW title matches just become Darby matches. They needs to have some versatility. And Darby can do that. Like, we've seen him do really great matches with like MJF. I think he could probably do a great match with just about anybody at that level. And we know, like, him and Swerve would have good matches. They've had him in the past. Him and Hangman. Like, if he gets that title, there's a good run in him. And I'm intrigued by the idea of having a guy like that be your signature star. My curiosity outweighs my doubt over whether it's a good idea. He's not who I would pick. I mean, to me, it's like put the belt on Ospreay and do those banger end the show with those banger matches every time. But yeah,
that's the way I can put it. He's at the bottom of a short list, but he's still on the short list.
Yeah.
You know, like he's
I don't know if I'd put him on the bottom of mine. I think, you know,
but I mean, if there's like 5 or 10 guys, you know, like he's not at the top of the list, but he makes the list.
I'd put him in the 5.
Yeah. He makes the list is what I'm saying. Like, he's not at the top of anybody.
Right.
Like,
to me, it's basically, if you're talking about who's going to be a champion in the next year, to me, it's you're either talking Swerve coming back, Hangman, or Darby, or Ospreay. And that's really it. And I wouldn't put Swerve there because he just came off, and I wouldn't want to go back to him right away. So to me, it's really, you're either doing Darby, Hangman, or Ospreay.
And I want to also applaud AEW for this. While I give criticism about my concerns about the hardcore level of match of the Darby Allin matches, this was the first AEW pay-per-view that I can remember that there wasn't a match with an obscene amount of visual blood.
Yeah.
And you got to give them credit. They were able to convey everything that they needed to do without having massive blood or blade jobs. People got bloody noses or a little bit of blood in the mouth or whatever, but they did not.
They definitely backed off the last
like go nuts on the blood, and I am very thankful for that.
Yeah, me too. We got enough of that for a while.
I'm critical about one thing, but I need to at the same time acknowledge that they did pull back on things that you know people were not responding to.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad they did that. All right, we got 3 matches left. Young Bucks versus Private Party. This was very interesting. This was also an interesting one to talk about in the Discord as it was happening. So Private Party, they tried to do a microwave job on this team to get them legitimized for this match, and I wonder if there's part of me, and I think there's most people that we were talking with agreed that they did not do a good job of it leading into this match. But I think it's fair to wonder, would anything have done it, or is Private Party just dead? Like, in terms of ever having that kind of credibility. I thought the video they did with Amazing Red, even though I had no idea that Amazing Red was connected to them, and I don't know if,
that was great.
And I don't know if Amazing Red has ever appeared on AEW TV before tonight, so that was weird. But I liked the video package. I wish that it had been the culmination of a story of them getting serious instead of being like, oh, I did, they may have shown this on Rampage or something similar to this, but it felt like they were microwaving it. And most people in the discussion were thinking this is going to suck because Private Party came out. There was almost no reaction, even after that big hype video. And they came in and people were like, well, this is not going to do well. But the Bucks, well, if they do, then the Bucks are going to, if they are getting over in this match. And there was a lot of people interesting who thought Private Party was going to win.
Why?
I have no idea, but it was like the build, like it was sort of like the the idea that you can't build them up that much as an underdog and then not deliver. But I was like, it's still Private Party. And I don't think the goal was that. The goal was to get them that clap after the win as they, after the loss. But here's what I will say. You can give the Bucks full credit, and that's fine. I think they held their own in the match. They did pretty well. I don't think Quen is on the level of any of them, but I think Isiah has grown a lot. But the Bucks, even if you give them the full credit, that crowd was into the end. And the crowd would have been happy if they had won, which I think was a big win. The crowd bought some of those 2 counts for sure. And they were chanting Private Party during the match and after. So, in some ways, are they better off than they were before the match?
No, not at all. Private Party owes Nick and Matt Jackson a 24-pack of Coke Zero and a nice pizza because they don't drink. They made Private Party look really good.
Yeah.
And Private Party rose to the occasion. And they did the exact same thing with Private Party 5 years ago. You know what happened in between? Private Party had their opportunities and they didn't live up to it. Perhaps that'll change now, but it is up to Private Party. Like they have been given the opportunity now. They have been shown that, like, we believe in you and we put you in a match, and yeah, you did it, but you're not going to be wrestling the Young Bucks all the time. Sometimes you're going to be wrestling guys that you don't want to, but you are now elder statesmen in this division, and you are like the leaders and growing up. And there's stuff that they're going to have to get better at. Their brawling was atrocious. Watching them trying to do those clubbing blows on the Young Bucks made me feel like they were junior high schoolers pounding on the gym teacher. It just wasn't working out for me. But they have a chance and they have an opportunity, and it's up to them to take it. I don't believe right now that they are viable tag team champions in AEW division. But you know what? There was a point I didn't think the Acclaimed were either, and they got there. Whether I believed or I thought it was a great title reign, it's irrelevant because they were put in a position where I could believe that they could be tag team champions. And Private Party aren't there right now, and that's why I don't think that they are in any better position than they are before. But I do think that they have an opportunity for themselves to change that perception. But it's up to them.
I think they are better off than they were the night before, but there's such a gap that they would have to cover that it doesn't matter. Because they're I think they did gain some credibility. I think the Bucks gave it to them.
You manufactured a moment where you wanted them to feel like, wow, this crowd really wants to, like, you want to empathize and you want to have that emotional connection with them.
Mm-hmm.
They gave them all the opportunity to create that relationship with the audience. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say it's up to them to do the next part of it. But
I think, I don't, that team really doesn't have a future. I think Isiah Kassidy has potential somewhere. I think probably the best thing for them would be to like reset with NXT or something like that, or split up. I don't think Marq Quen is.
Send them to New Japan for the Super Junior Tag League. Why not?
Yeah.
Do they drink and smoke too much? That's not going to work out.
Hey, no, they just quit. Remember, they just learned.
Fair enough. But anyway, just like it's working out for Anna Jay and it worked out for Jack Perry, I do think that a couple of tag teams, need to go over there in the next couple months and get some seasoning because it's working really well for the guys, for the people that go over there.
All right. And now another match that I was surprised of where it was placed, but I was pleasantly surprised by of why I think they did. And it was Chris Jericho versus Mark Briscoe for the ROH title. This was a very short lead up to this, but I thought it was really effective. They did it really quickly, and the way that they did the angle of doing the promo and Chris invoking Jay and the way that he did it and the way that Mark played it, where it was just like, man, don't go there. And then his whole demeanor changing and not cutting the zany promos and everything like that. I thought gave this match a lot of credibility. even though, like, you know, you got to have a grain of salt with anything Chris Jericho right now, as far as in the ring. But when I realized that this was the semi-main, placement wise, the thing that I liked about it was this company believes in Mark Briscoe.
Yeah.
And that excites me. I like the idea that they're like, oh, we have something with him. Like, he gets the biggest reactions. People are 100% behind him. I hate to say it, but I think they see in him what Eddie Kingston almost was or is, where it's like, this is a guy who has a deep connection with the people. They just genuinely get behind him. They see him as very genuine, even though he's very over the top, but he can do a lot better matches than Eddie. And I think he's more versatile. And not to say that they're in competition for a spot, but while Eddie Kingston's out, I think they see him as filling that Eddie Kingston spot. And as I was, not to spoil anything on if we get to this, but on my little scratch sheet of potential Full Gear matches, the idea occurred to me, what if you did Mark Briscoe versus Jon Moxley as the main event of Full Gear for the AEW title? ROH champion versus AEW champion. Put that ROH title in a bag.
I feel like they're just going to do a casino gauntlet to determine the next challenger for Jon
They might, but hey, Mark Briscoe could win it.
I'd be into it. I would be into it. I was very, very surprised that Briscoe won this match clean. One match. There wasn't a long, drawn-out program. There wasn't anything other than, you know, they told a story building this match, and they covered everything within the match.
Yep.
Within it, it was a one and done, and it feels like Jericho's power in AEW is waning a little bit. Like, he's picking his matches and where he wins and loses, because he does have a lot of say in all of this as well, and creatively and all this stuff. It's like, but there just gets a sense that, you know, he's 54 or whatever. He's losing more matches. He's putting other people over. The Hook thing, you know. Then he moved on to Jay Briscoe or Mark Briscoe with the J Driller, and trying to use the J Driller against Marq, and Marq using the J Driller against him. The whole deal was just really interesting. The dynamic, the political implications just seemed really dynamic out of nowhere.
But that's actually what planted the thought in my mind of is Mark Briscoe getting a main event program, because is
Ring of Honor dead?
I don't know if Ring of Honor's dead. Don't tell Brian Cage that. But it's not so much that Ring of Honor's dead. I think, okay, here's the other thing I put. Maybe him being the new Eddie Kingston isn't the right, it's more that he's the new Orange Cassidy. Because when they present that conglomeration group, Mark is like, Mark Briscoe is the leader of the group. He's the main guy.
He's the one with more charisma. He's the one with the charisma.
Yeah, but I mean, he's also like, the way they present him is he's the captain of the team.
Yeah.
And the fact that they did this little short one and done, completely contained program where Jay went over a former world champion dominantly,
noteworthy, absolutely,
on the semi-main of a pay-per-view, just got my.
I'm gonna give you your flowers.
It got my gears going. So I'm just saying, if it happens, I will collect those flowers. If not, then it was just a wild thought. But anyway, happy for him. I thought he did well, and I'm interested to see where he's going. Yeah,
very good match. Enjoyed it. Do we want to recap the main event one more time, or I felt like we kind of?
I think we talked about it thoroughly. So yeah, I'm curious about that. So let's just recap. I did some chicken scratch notes as we were going of what could be set for Full Gear. I'll just run these by you real quick, just like 5 minutes or so, and we'll come back here in a month and see if any of us were right. So what I got right now is MJF Cole.
Okay.
Kyle Fletcher, Will Ospreay.
Okay.
Takeshita, Ricochet.
Okay.
Mariah and Mina, and or Tony.
I say Mina.
I'm thinking Mina first too.
Mercedes and Statlander.
Mercedes and Statlander. Perry and Garcia. These are all singles matches, so I'm sure I'm wrong on a lot of this. Mm-hmm. Swerve and Shelton. Bucks and Top Flight.
Yes, okay.
And that's where I kind of ended up with Mox and Briscoe.
Maybe Okada and Kyle O'Reilly?
Oh, yeah, but I think that'll be a Dynamite.
I think it's a TV match, but, you could put it Okada should have
yeah, you're right.
Pay-per-view match. And if it's the last match before going into the Continental Classic, which I was big into thinking that we were going to get Okada and Takeshita in the finals of the
I love
C2.
That idea, by the way. Yeah.
I don't think it's happening anymore. Just I have reasons to kind of think that that's not. But I really want it to.
I do.
I kind of think Takeshita might be the guy to face Zack Sabre Jr. If Zack Sabre Jr. wins the King of Pro Wrestling title this weekend against Naito. If he wins, there's not a whole lot of guys that have the cachet. And this guy was a G1 block.
Takeshita returning. And I know the New Japan crowd will be stoked when he comes back. So I think that'd be a great one.
MJF and Zack Sabre Jr. at Wrestle Dynasty seems like something that they might.
I'd love that too.
But yeah, those are a couple of things.
Yeah,
I'll be talking about that King of Pro Wrestling show. It's going to be the biggest New Japan show, bigger than Dominion this year. Honestly, probably the biggest show since Wrestle Kingdom, and that's on Monday morning on New Japan World. And then I'll be back on Speak of Strong Style, and then we'll get back together on November 23rd. That is when Full Gear. It is the Saturday before Thanksgiving. So if you're doing any traveling, I am not doing any traveling.
I will not be traveling. I will be traveling to my study to watch this show.
I shall be studying the show at Dave's house and then coming back and talking about it here.
Nice.
Yes.
All right.
We did it.
We did it.
He'll be so proud.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up, and then we'll see you there. The Dynamite show will be on Wednesday, doing the aftermath of that, and
you'll be there doing the Dynamite.
I am planning to be there.
I might call in because I'll be going to the show.
You'll be at the show.
I'll be 10 minutes away to get home.
Okay. Well, we'd love a run in.
I might be able to pull off even just putting on the headphones and coming in on the show for a few minutes.
That's fine. Even if you're like calling in the parking lot or something, that'd be fun. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. I like dropping in on the Dynamite show every once in a while. And then Speaking Strong Style on Thursday.
I got Scott E. Wrestling joining me because Conway is
nice
vacation, and I'm trying to get another guest to talk about King of Pro Wrestling immediately afterward. You'll find out on Thursday if that guest showed up or not.
Okay. We'll look forward to the surprise. All right. For Jeremy, this is Kevin, and thanks for watching, listening, and we'll see you next time.